Well, hello again, everybody. It's Tuesday night. We're back here with another NFL preview show. It's week 11. It's shooting by pretty quickly. Teams are kind of separating from the pack. I got Joey Clinkscales before me. I got my dad, Harper LeBel, below me. I'm Brian LeBel. Vincent Turner, not with us this week. He'll be back with us soon. Some other stuff he's going to be working on. So it's us three tonight, guys, if you're good with that. Before I start, is there anything, looking back on weeks prior, maybe last week's games or maybe trends that you've seen so far leading up into week 11 that we need to talk about beforehand?
The only thing I would talk about from that standpoint for me is, defense wins championships. And I think that's going to be the case this year as well. We watched a Monday night game, which was a defensive struggle. We watched the Super Bowl last year where a defense dominated a offense. I just think if you can play defense and you can run the ball, you have a great chance of being successful in the NFL.
Anything from your end, Dad?
Real quickly, thank you for letting me fill in for Vincent. I appreciate it. Correct me if I'm wrong. If the bad teams are starting to believe that we're not so bad and they're going to start upsetting some folks, that might be a concern for the leaders. And you better beat them. You better step on their throat and keep it on, because New Orleans, the Jets, Cleveland, the Giants, they're still going to fight. And you better beat them. Now, you can. They've proven in many respects that they are there for a reason. And they made a lot of mistakes early on. But once they start turning things around, if they do, they could be a formidable opponent for any team at any time. The second thing is, it's kind of neat that we saw what happened last week really kind of click in, as you mentioned, Brian, with the Seahawks, for example, and the Rams. That's going to be a great game. That's going to be one where you're going to want to stop and watch no matter what you do. And I may put the lawn aside for a little while or take the garbage out a little bit later, because there's some games that are starting to increase in the velocity and their importance for playoff ramifications.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it last night on our wrap-up show. There's a lot of teams that have 6 to 8 wins right now that are trying to fight, and they're pining for position right now. And a lot can change over the next week, over the next month, whatever happens leading up to the playoffs. But we can go ahead and get into it. The first game on the docket, this is a pretty good game. This is two teams that are coming off of a bad loss, kind of soul-searching a little bit. Now, the Bucs, it's a little bit better because they lost to a very good Patriots team. But, Joey, I'll start with you. Give me the outlook on Tampa Bay. I know they're not fully healthy. I know, shoveling guys in and out at the running back position, at wide receiver. Baker doesn't look like he's 100%. What's your outlook on Tampa Bay the last couple weeks and then going forward to this one on Sunday?
Well, I think you kind of hit it on the head there. The Bucs have been injury prone throughout the year. And I think Baker, I'm not sure he's 100%. They've had issues at receiver for sure with Godwin and Evans. And even the young guy, Abuka, he's had some injuries as well. And obviously at the running back position. And to be able to really beat this Buffalo team on Sunday, the key thing they're going to have to do is run the ball and create turnovers. And Buffalo has been susceptible to turnovers lately, which is one of the reasons why they've lost 2 of the last 3. However, Tampa Bay has to find a way to stay consistent, be committed to running the football, because if they don't, it will be hard for them to win this football game.
Yeah, they've had different ways to win, right? They've run the ball and they've had success. They don't have Bucky Irving, which it's a giant question mark at this point, because they said 3 weeks ago he's on track to get back, and now there's no timetable for return. So it's a little bit scary if you're a Tampa Bay fan. Same with Chris Godwin, but. Dad, I'll go to you. The Tampa Bay outlook. Now, everyone else in the division, with the exception of the Saints, obviously lost on Sunday. So they didn't lose any ground over the Falcons, didn't lose any ground over the Panthers, who were looking really, really good. So that's a bonus for Tampa, but this was also a game that you look at and said, man, they really would have liked to win it to put themselves in the conversations of contenders and also kind of separate themselves in the division a little bit.
Well, if I piggyback off of what Joey's been saying on some of our wrap-up shows for quite a while, I'm going to read off Tristan Wirfs, Ben Braidson, Graham Barton, Luke Haggard, and Luke Godecki. Those are their 5 offensive linemen, and they're not household names. They're really not. But they're going to have to become household names, meaning when John Madden would talk about you late in the playoffs, and I knew who Bubba Paris was, and I knew Harris Barton, because I was learning about them during the broadcast when there weren't any other games going on. and what a difference they could make. Real quick stat, 898 total rushing yards for Tampa amongst everybody, including Baker, who you said hasn't rushed for the last couple of weeks. He doesn't have a single yard. Teddy Bridgewater has more yards than Baker does in the last couple of weeks. But James Cook has 920 alone for Buffalo.
Yeah.
So they're not running the ball like they used to. They're not playing like they used to. They were winning games in the last minute. They lose to the Patriots by 5, and they've got after the Bills, they got to go to the Rams, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, and then Panthers again. It's a very winnable division. You don't have to win 14 or 15 games to win this division. So I think they're getting by right now, but I think Buffalo also is playing with a sense of urgency. And I'm not sure, Joey, if they're panicking yet, but things aren't happening real smoothly for them. They played really well against Kansas City and looked great. They look really good against Baltimore earlier in the year, but they have struggled. And there are times when you get a deer in headlights look from your quarterback when he's on the sideline after an incompletion and where they have to punt or an interception.
Yeah, the answers I think he had early in the year. The teams playing them now are playing them a little bit differently. And I don't think he has that same he has the answers anymore. And what I mean by that is he's been confused by the defense, hence the big interception in the end zone yesterday, 2 days ago, which was crucial. So Buffalo has some things they have to correct, and they need to correct in a hurry because the turnovers, the inconsistency of being able to get the ball deep down the field when they need to, the vertical passing game, and appears their starting tight end will be out this week. So, Buffalo has a lot of work to do before they can be considered a real contender again.
Yeah, it's interesting, though. The Bills, there are weeks like the Kansas City week, like they looked fantastic, right? And then you have a game against Miami, and albeit a division game, but it was kind of an ugly game. Dad, I'll go to you here. Is it a hiccup? Is it something that, they're going to learn from this, right? Because they've been there, right? This is a team that's been deep in the playoffs. They haven't been able to get over the hump and reach a Super Bowl yet, but at some point the Patriots keep winning and the Broncos keep winning. And if you're going to keep pace in the AFC, you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to flip the switch. You're going to have to do it against a good Tampa team on Sunday. Yeah.
And to your point, Brian, in the last couple of years, Buffalo has been the bell cow for the division. Yeah. And this year they're looking up in ways that they haven't had to before. So there's a different kind of pressure on them to win just to keep pace and be eligible for the playoffs as a wild card. So I'm not sure. I don't know if there's something going on in the locker room. I don't know if one guy is mad at another guy and they're all, taking sides. There could be something. There could be a coaching staff that may not be reaching the players the same way that they used to. Come on, man, I've heard this message for 5 years. It's getting old. Or it could be they're just kind of in cruise control right now, and they're going to start turning it up like they need to late on in the year. So it could be any one of those things. I'm not worried if I'm in the Bills Mafia, but I am looking in the mirror going, are we okay? Because if we go 7-3, 8-3, 9-3, we're arguing for not. But if it's 6-4, 7-5, 3 weeks from now, there's maybe some reasons to have a different type of concern about whether or not this team is not only going to win the division, but whether they even make the playoffs.
Well, the only reason I would argue with you slightly on that point is I'm going to give you a hypothetical. If Buffalo were playing Denver tomorrow, I would probably choose Denver because Denver can, rush the passer. They have more sacks than anybody in the league. And when they're healthy, they have a cornerback. They can take any receiver out of the game. And then, they can put a spy on Josh Allen. And I'm concerned a little bit about Buffalo's defense, quite honestly. So if I'm part of the Bills Mafia, I do have some concerns because defensively we're playing just okay. Hence, what happened versus Miami. And, our offense versus a power defense like what Denver would put on, I would be a little bit afraid.
I'm not disagreeing with that either.
Right.
What I'm saying is, we're fine. What was I worried about? Our defense is doing just enough to win. There are still concerns about the defense, absolutely. And someone in the playoffs might expose in a way that hasn't been exposed during the regular season. But Josh's numbers are fine. Right? What's he got? He's 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's not his best. He's got 2,193 yards, and Baker's got about 2,150. So the two of them comparatively for this game are pretty close in what they're doing. I do think the offensive, the line, and then the running back play for Buffalo will be a key for this. Obviously, can I protect my quarterback? Can we run and take some time off the clock so that my suspect defense doesn't have to be on the field as much?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say this, though. Buffalo, I think the one thing they're lacking is a big play receiver, a vertical threat, right? Something to stretch the field. James Cook and their ability to run the ball without that vertical threat is fantastic. But there were rumblings at the trade deadline. They stood pat. They kind of liked with what they, like sticking with what they had. That's where they are, right? This is the team they are. Nothing's going to change. They might improve a little bit more. I'm going to ask both you guys. Joey, I'll start with you, though. One of these two teams has to win on Sunday. Who comes out on top and why?
Well, I'm taking the Buffalo Bills because they have the league MVP in the backfield. And I think what he doesn't do with his arm, he has the ability to do with his legs, along with James Cook running the ball. And defensively, I think they'll do just enough. I'm not of the belief that they'll hold Tampa Bay under 24 points. I think they'll score at least 24 points. But I think Buffalo would do enough offensively to win the football game.
Yeah. All right. Same question to you, Dad. Who wins Sunday? Bucks, Bills. Who wins and why?
I love what Joey said. I'm just going to take, just to be different, I'm going to take Tampa, and I'll tell you why. I think their defense is good enough to be able to keep them under 24 points without having to do anything spectacular, like a pick six or, anything. And I think Josh's inconsistency right now is a real factor. I know they're playing with duct tape and baling wire, but I think somehow or another they're going to find a way to ramp up what they need to for this week to play at Buffalo. I think they'll take this like it's a playoff game. They'll prep for it. And even though they're going in limping and minus a lot of their key players, Baker will kind of turn it up if he has to, playing on the turf, getting a chance to maybe get out of the pocket and gain 10 yards on a scramble and get a first down and have the whole team rally behind it the way that they have earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's a big part of their game. He drives a lot of the energy and a lot of the belief on that roster. And him needing to be 100% and maybe making some plays with his legs might be a difference maker going forward for the Bucs, especially this one. This is the game that we alluded to last night. We talked about it a little bit off rip when we started this evening. But Seahawks at Rams, I don't know if there's two teams that are hotter in the league right now. These offenses are rolling. They're efficient. The defenses are playing really, really well and opportunistic. We'll start with Seattle, and Dad, I'll start with you. Just Sam Darnold's playing great. The run game isn't even quite there yet, but top to bottom, doesn't seem to be a weak spot as far as the Seattle Seahawks across the roster.
Well, I'm going to steal a line from somebody from earlier this evening. Defense wins championships, and Seattle is playing defense. You see the mean, ugly look of that bird on their logo helmet. I'm telling you right now, I think they get it. They may not be the Legion of Boom like they were a decade ago, but I think they believe in themselves in a different way. And good for Sam Darnold. Being resurrected last year in Minnesota. And even though they had that one game in the playoffs where he just wasn't able to make it happen, I think he really values what's going on there, gets the right person the ball. There's a lot of pressure that's off him, but there's pressure that's on him now because they're in a position right now going to get Stafford and McVay and everybody with the Rams. And they got that 12th man on the field. That, to me, is going to be a playoff atmosphere, the home of the wave where they began all that stuff. And the Seahawks fans can be incredibly intimidating in that little building that they've got there downtown. It's an amazing place. So I like Seattle's chances. I just think this is one of those chances that you're going to have to prove yourself, and you don't want to trip over your feet. So I hope they play well. If they do, then watch out. Seattle could be a deadly opponent for the rest of the year.
Joey, the Seahawks haven't really played a close game in a month, right? They blew out the Commanders. The game was over. We said it yesterday. With 8 minutes left in the second quarter, it's 35-0 Seahawks over the Cardinals on Sunday. But they're opportunistic on defense. To allude to what my dad said, they're scoring points. Leonard Williams and Sam Darnold seem to have a resurgence, right? The Seahawks are rolling. Coming into this game, thoughts on Seattle? And is there anything they're doing wrong as of right now?
No, not at all. And don't forget about Lawrence, who scored 2 touchdowns coming over from Dallas. So I think defensively, the Seahawks are playing really well. They're playing championship-level football right now. they have a lot of things going in that direction. Obviously, the quarterback is playing great. The only thing you would like to see better is their ability to run the ball. They're struggling at times. They've had some injuries back there. They haven't been able to put the run game together. So for them to win this game versus the Rams, they're going to have to run the ball, because defensively, the Rams may be the best defensive team that they faced easily in the last month, if not longer.
Right.
They are pretty good, and they can rush the passer. So Darnold would be challenged. Those receivers would be challenged because Darnold will have to get rid of the ball. But to Darnold's credit, if you go back and look what he did in Minnesota, he really had one or two bad games. And you look at the way the quarterbacks are playing without him. You have one on IR. You have the other one in and out of the lineup. So I would say Darnold won the trade because he got away from a bad line to a much better team, and he's playing at an MVP caliber rate at this point.
Yeah, they finished 14-3 last year with him at the helm with the Vikings, and this year they're 7-2. So he's doing nothing but win games. Joey, I'll stick with you on this one. The Rams on the other side, though, you said it yourself. Matthew Stafford right now he's the leader in the clubhouse. He's the MVP in your mind, right? He's a little bit ahead of Jonathan Taylor, and everybody else is kind of looking up at him. They're efficient. They're running the ball well, too. They've kind of established. They got Blake Corum. They got Kyron Williams. They're able to go kind of 50-50, and it's working, right? Devontae Adams is playing well. Puka Nacua hasn't even been healthy for half of this stint that they've been on, where they just keep winning games. They beat a very good San Francisco team handily on Sunday. What is it with the LA Rams as well? Because they're in the same boat as Seattle, where it doesn't seem like they're doing anything wrong.
Offensively, they're just clicking on all cylinders. Between the receivers, Puka, Devontae, and then you have their old receiver they'll be playing Sunday in Seattle. From last year. However, Matthew Stafford is playing at an MVP caliber level, and if the voting were today, I would say that he would win the MVP of the league. He is very efficient with the ball. He still has a big arm. He's still accurate. He can still feather the ball when he needs to, and he's mobile enough to get outside the pocket and throw on the move. Now, he's not going to run the ball. You don't have to worry about that so much with him, but he will. The play action game works excellently because they can run the ball with two running backs. They have a tight end that's coming along. He's a young guy that they drafted, I think, in the second round, who's growing each week. So I like a lot of things that they can do, along with being able to rush the passer.
Yeah, Dad, we had a conversation about the Rams and kind of the synergy, right? That everything working, in conjunction with one another, to McVay, to Stafford, to the receiving core, the offense. Everything is just clicking, right? Everything is working. They're all on the same page. You can see it week in and week out. Is there anything specifically that you see in the Rams, though, that is just this is why they're beating everybody because they're doing this a little bit better, or maybe they're be able to exploit stuff a little bit more? It's more McVay. It's more whatever it is. Is there anything that you see from them?
Yeah, their defense is killing it right now. We've talked about Seattle's defense. Let's give the Rams a little credit too. And Brian, go ahead when we're done. Put a footnote in here. Tell that Stafford story with that, what he's seeing and the possibility of him saying, I saw Robotron run a route like this and I really liked it. Why don't you guys do the same thing? There are communications that probably have taken place from training camp on that have gone on, but week one, they gave up 9 points defensively to Houston. I'm just looking right now. Their last loss was 5 weeks ago against San Francisco in SoFi. They gave up 26 there. The game went to overtime. It was 23 apiece. Frisco gets a overtime field goal to win it. Against Baltimore, they give up 3 points. They give up 7 against Jacksonville. The following week against the Saints, now granted these aren't great offenses, but only 10 points. So in 3 games, they gave up a total of 20 points, and then they gave up 26, but most of those were fourth quarter points. Everybody was pretty much done by the time that game was over. I think the Ram defense has the ability to shut the crowd up and make it a game where it's very neutral from that standpoint. And if you give Matthew Stafford some time, you better get some more new lights for the scoreboard because he's going to light it up.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier, though, the fact that Stafford has the ability to tell these young receivers, these guys, even the older guys like Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua, they can come in and say, hey, this is what Calvin was doing, right? To be able to say at the interview we had on Sunday where he says, I have the answers to the test. I know what everyone's trying to do. I've seen every defense a million times. So to be able to kind of spread the knowledge to the younger guys so everyone's on the same page. But it's an advantage. Now, I'm going to ask both you guys, Dad, I'll start with you. One of these two teams has to win, right? Unfortunately, one of these two teams has to lose, but for me, it's impossible to pick against either one of these guys. So I'm going to ask you to do that now. Who wins on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. And Joey, after I'm done here real quick, tell me how important it is in a locker room to have a guy like Stafford, who's not just a living legend with the group, but if he's humble, if he's a guy that really wants the best for you, whatever position that you play, and he's not a me guy, how critically important that could be, especially from your quarterback. But I think the Rams get an upset here, just for the reason I gave. Their defense is good enough. This could be a low-scoring game, but I like Matthew Stafford with the ball and 2 minutes left more than I like Darnold. And it's not like I don't like Darnold. I'd love to have him with the ball. I just don't know who's going to have it last, so I'm picking the Rams.
Yeah, Joey, same question to you, and then the answer to the question that my dad asked you as well.
Well, I'm going to pick the Rams as well, mainly for all the reasons we've given, and because I picked them at the beginning of the year to win the division, so I guess I need to stick with that. However, this team they hadn't played each other all year, so this team will play twice in the next 4 or 5 weeks. So this will be interesting. Now, when they get to Seattle to play, I'll probably pick the Seahawks. But I think that, so to me, this is really a must-win game for the Rams in this series with the Seahawks, because they're playing at home, and this is a must-win game for them at home, because it's going to be really difficult when they face that 12th man in that stadium in Seattle. So for that reason, and the way that and the way that Matthew Stafford's playing, I'm going to pick the Rams. But his leadership, let's get to that. His leadership has been spectacular. You know, part of the interview that he had last week, he was talking about he's seen all these defensive coordinators multiple times, and he feels like with his advanced age, he has a lot of the answers that he wouldn't have had when he was younger. In doing so, he's also able to relay this information to the receivers he has, even to the defense, because when the defense is on the field, he's able to, at least in practice, you know, he's able to tell those guys, well, you know, I've played against this offensive coordinator before. This is what he likes to do. Or I've seen this tackle play before. This is what he likes to do. So I think that's really a calming presence to a young football team. And the Rams are young at a lot of positions. Okay, at tight end, they're young. Puka's a 3-year guy, and Devontae's been around for a while. They have a rookie tight end that they took in the second round. They have 2 young running backs. So they have a couple young offensive linemen. So I think a guy with a veteran presence who's seen a lot of it, who offensively has 2 of the most prolific offensive years with receivers in the history of the National Football League. I think all those things are really a comforting factor. And the fact that his head coach trusts him implicitly with the offense and the way he does things, I think all those are great benefits to the Rams.
Yeah. Must-see TV on Sunday. 2 very, very good teams. Next game we're going to talk about, these are also 2 very good teams, but kind of different from what we've seen in the past, right? Usually when this matchup takes place, it'd be Kansas City that's sitting at 8-2, as opposed to Denver, and then Denver would kind of be in a position where it's a must-win. Dad, I'll start with you. The Chiefs are coming off a bye. Andy Reid is phenomenal off a bye. Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal off a bye. Most good teams, good quarterbacks are, but Broncos had a mini bye themselves. They play on Thursday night. I kind of alluded to it, but is this a must-win game for the Chiefs? And they're 5-4. They got a lot of soul-searching still to figure out. They're, a loss. They're staring at 3 games behind Denver in the division with only 6 left to play after this. So what's up with Kansas City? Must-win game. What do you think they need to do on Sunday?
Yeah, Kansas City's in trouble if they lose this game. So yeah, from that perspective, it's a must-win for them, which gives Denver a little bit of ease, in my opinion. They don't have to win. It'd be great if they did. They go 9-2, and for obvious reasons, that'd be a great spot to be in. I just pulled up some numbers here. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to look over here. Denver has 46 sacks already. They've got 47 tackle for losses. They have 61 passes deflected. Those are incompletions where someone gets their hand in the way or for whatever reason. They got 5 interceptions, only 3 fumble recoveries. They've forced 7 fumbles. Defensively, they're all over the place. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't know who their defensive coordinator is, but he's up for my Academy Award. He has done such a great job of giving little responsibilities to guys in a way that others do, but they're embracing it. And if you just look at the basic number for Bo Nix, he's got 2,126 yards, which is right up there with what we were talking about with Stafford or with Baker and with Josh Allen. He's right there with him. And I didn't expect him to be there now. I thought maybe in a couple years or whatever. So good for him. And they can rush the ball well. They got 1,200 yards rushing. So Denver is a very formidable opponent. And Sean Payton does something as a quarterback whisperer that a lot of guys don't. Just be accurate. Get the ball near the guy, and he'll make the catch. He did it with Drew Brees for decades. And, he has a Super Bowl because of it. He should have more, in my opinion. But I think he's got a lot more talent and a lot better cap situation and ownership than he had in New Orleans. But a good deal for the Broncos. I don't think the pressure's on them in the same way that it is for Kansas City. I think they're going to play really loose, but Kansas City, to answer your question very specifically, has to win this football game.
Now, Joey, the staple of what the Broncos have done for a while has been defense, right? They love to play defense up there, and they use it to their advantage with the weather and everything else that's going on. But the Chiefs have kind of seen it a lot, right? They understand what the Broncos are going to try to do to them. They're division rivals, right? So it makes this game kind of unpredictable. But if you're Kansas City, this is kind of new, uncharted territory, right? At least before you get into late January where everything becomes a must-win, where, hey, we're in week 11 and we're already in a position where we can't really afford any more losses.
Right. I don't think this is anything the Chiefs have not seen. I mean, they're used to the weather. It gets cold in Kansas City. They've played in Denver before with their core group. So I don't think they'll be intimidated by what's going on. I do think the pass rush will intimidate them some. Now, their best offensive lineman, young offensive lineman tackle, will be back playing. So I think they'll have a little bit of comfort in him there and playing. However, this will be a tough game. I'm not as sold on Denver's offense and Bo Nix, to be quite honest with you. He's played kind of up and down. He's had a lot of peaks and a lot of valleys in his play. And last week was versus the Raiders was certainly a valley game for him. So he's kind of up and down. And this is a big game. The Chiefs need to win this game. And I personally believe they will win this game. But I do think it's going to be a low-scoring affair because I'm not certain that the Broncos offensively will light up the scoreboard either. So I do think it will be a low-scoring game, but I do think the Chiefs will pull it out.
Hey, Joey, do me a favor. I'm going to steal a question from Brian.
Sure.
There's two sides to this, and maybe you can approach it from both sides. We're the Chiefs. We're the big bad boys. We've won the division. We have won the Super Bowl on numerous occasions. And to get there, we've won in your building on countless occasions there for years. We're just going to show up, like what the Raiders used to do in the 70s. They didn't always win, but they would just show up, and everybody would be intimidated by that. How much of that is genuine and real for now? And how much of the Broncos are going, you know what? You were the bad boy in town. Now we're going to kick your butt.
Well, I think
it's our time in our building, and it's not going to happen anymore. We're going to do everything that we can to stop you. I don't care what your success was last year or in 8 years previous. It's our turn, and you're not going to get it in our building.
Well, the Broncos are the new kids on the block, so they have to have that mentality because the Chiefs still have the core group of guys that have taken them to who have won 3 Super Bowls and taken them to 5 Super Bowls, 5 of the last 6 or whatever. So they still have that core group of guys. So they aren't going to be intimidated by coming in here. They aren't going to be intimidated by, even if they do not win the division, because guess what? If I'm the Chiefs, I can go win on the road. I've done it before. It's playoff football. I can go 3 straight weeks and win and go to the Super Bowl without having a home game. Yeah. Okay. If I'm the Chiefs, that's how I think. So the Broncos, for their confidence, despite this being a must-win game for the Chiefs, for the Broncos' confidence, they need to find a way to win this game. Because if they don't win this game, and then they have to go to Arrowhead and play when maybe the Chiefs are 1 game back, or the division is tied.
And they do that on Christmas Day. They play on a Thursday night game.
And the Chiefs have played on Christmas Day a few times. So, again, if the Chiefs win this game, then all the pressure goes back to the Broncos, in my opinion. Yeah, no, absolutely. And another element to this is the Chargers are 7-3.
So if the Broncos lose this game and the Chargers end up winning on Sunday, the Chargers are right there at the top, and then the Chiefs are a game closer, and it just kind of there's an element. It's must win for the Chiefs, I think, but there's another element for the Broncos as well. With everything being said, Dad, I'll start with you. One of these two teams have to win. Sean Payton's very good with extra time to prepare, which he had because I played on Thursday night. I mentioned the Chiefs are coming off a bye. Who wins this game?
Yeah, Joey made a great point, and I'm probably leaning towards that, but I'm going to say, nope, Denver's going to do it this time. Their guys are going to say, especially their up front, the four, they're going to get to Patrick Mahomes in a way that they haven't been able to do in a while. Or Kansas City is going to max protect and basically send one or possibly two guys out, and it'll be pretty easy for their defensive secondary to make some stops and get some more pass deflected. But I'm going to go with the Broncos, real simple.
Yeah, Joey, listen, the Chiefs are kind of at full strength, right? They got everybody back on the offensive line finally. Isaiah Pacheco is slated. Looks like he's going to be healthy. He's going to play, so they'll have their two-headed monster, so to speak, back at running back. But who wins this game on Sunday?
I'm going to say the Chiefs win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I think Rashee Rice is going to have a big game because I think the corner from the Broncos is still out.
Surtain, yes.
So I'm pulling. Well, I'm not pulling, but I believe the Chiefs will win this game like 20-17 or 17-14. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. And as I mentioned, Chargers fans for the first time in a long time probably going to be pulling for Kansas City on Sunday as well. So, guys, this is, the Sunday nighter, right? Lions at Eagles. This is a game that has, as of right now, massive playoff implications, right? Because the team that wins this game is, so to speak, sort of in the driver's seat when it comes to home field advantage throughout the NFC. Joey, I'll start with you, and I'll start with the Lions. Dan Campbell took over play calling responsibilities, and the offense was clicking. Everybody was involved. They scored a lot of points, albeit against a bad Washington team, but they did exactly what they needed to do, and they put them to bed early. Lions looked really good on Sunday. What are your thoughts on that?
I was really impressed with the way they played football on Sunday. I mean, they looked like the Lions of old, the explosion they had from the receiver position, from the running back position. Jared Goff played relaxed and was able to spread the ball around to a lot of different people. They have a tight end. They can get down the middle of the field. So I was impressed with what the Lions did. And defensively, they didn't have a huge challenge. They'll have a bigger challenge, obviously, this coming Sunday. But the Lions were pretty impressive. And again, it's the NFL. They all get paid, and they'll all take a challenge. And the Lions lived up to their end of the deal this past Sunday. So I expect them to play well this week.
Dad, there was some extracurricular stuff, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Daron Payne throwing some punches. As always, the second guy gets caught, but the Lions kind of a nasty attitude, right? The bite your kneecaps off, the Dan Campbell, Detroit Lions, and what he wanted. They're exhibiting that, right? They'll play physical. They can, they got some barn burners and Gibbs and Jameson Williams, but they also like to hit you up front. Their offensive line is great. The defense has been a surprise as well. Give me your thoughts on the Detroit Lions so far.
What did Amon St. Brown say to get that dude so mad to where he's a big man now, and he threw a punch that hit him just basically in the lower portion of the helmet?
He got away with one.
That was a video that came out 2 plays earlier. Amon St. Brown threw a punch at him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't seen, so he retaliated, and obviously he got caught.
Yeah, second guy always gets caught. Yeah,
always gets caught. But man, what a punch! And he took it. He didn't get knocked down. Most guys would buckle their knees. So that, in some small way, for a wide receiver going up against a linebacker, defensive end, it doesn't matter, a bigger dude. I love that, and I think everyone in Detroit, everyone in the league, respects how tough Dan Campbell has taken an organization that has struggled for decades and turned them into a powerhouse. They just haven't gotten over the hump yet. And this will be a nice test, not the most important one. They're tied in the division. It's a very, very close race. You've got a tie with Green Bay separating these 3 teams with Chicago now. Minnesota has fallen by the wayside. What an interesting perspective. But Detroit has been standing tall. I think they will again at the end of the division, but I don't know if they have what it takes to go into Philadelphia, except the fact that Philadelphia might be a little tired, right? They lose today, right? They played late last night.
Short week.
They get home till today. They got a short week, supposedly. They get one less day to prepare. But I think they've been in cruise control throughout most of the year. But they're on a 3-game winning streak. They lost a couple. They had 4-game winning streak to start the season. This is going to be another one of those. I got to stop what I'm doing to watch these two teams play because I know both of them are going to be in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Yeah, Joey, it's interesting. My dad mentioned cruise control, right? We have been incredibly hard on the Eagles all year, right? We said they haven't played their best football. The offense doesn't look great. Not a lot of explosiveness, whatever it is, but they keep winning football games. They keep winning. And you can say Super Bowl hangover, whatever it might be, but we're pushing the playoffs here very soon, and they're at the top of the NFC yet again without their best football being played. Jalen Hurts still isn't quite there. Saquon looks a little tired, right? Looks like they had a long year last year, but is this the Philadelphia team? Because we've talked about it, right? At this point, you kind of are what you are. Is this the Philadelphia team we need to expect, or are we in a position where, hey, this sooner or later they're going to have to hit the ground running, and we're going to show flashes of what they were able to do last year when they hoisted a Lombardi?
Well, I think they're vulnerable, if I'm being quite frank with you, because now they can rush the passer. I think that will eventually be even better than it was last year, because I think with the addition of the kid they got from Miami, I think with the kid from Georgia who played his first game this week, who's healthy, one of the 3 kids they have from Georgia, 4 kids actually, who came back, who was injured, and he played well this past Sunday. So I think the defensive line is really good. I think the linebacker core is good. I think they need help on the corners, though. And I think Detroit offensively will give the Eagles secondary fits, because I think the Eagles offensive line is good enough to keep Jared Goff standing upright enough for him to get the ball to those receivers and tight ends. And I think that may end up being the difference in the game.
Yeah. Dad, the Eagles didn't play their best ball at all on what was it, Monday night, but they still get a win. They beat a very good Packers team, a team that, we've talked about. They're right there in the NFC North of the Lions for the lead. They lost it last night as they lost to the Eagles. But, at a certain point, if Philadelphia wants to repeat as champions, they're going to have to kind of click and figure it out. Is that something that you foresee them doing? Or maybe they don't do it at all, but they're still at the top of the NFC right now.
Yeah, you mentioned something with the cruise control comment that I made a little while ago. Here's what I don't know. And Joey, you can tell me I'm wrong. And do so quite easily. It happens all the time. They may be in cruise control and are able to get into that 5th gear. They may be in 5th gear right now and they're still struggling. I just don't know. I don't know if they're giving everything that they have and they're just barely winning because they know how to win. They've willed themselves over the past 3 or 4 years to learn how to win the close ones at the end and not make a mistake, wait for the other opponent to do so. Get that 1 extra yard, that 1 extra first down, save that 1 timeout, get the field goal, and win the ball game. Jalen's numbers are average at 1,800 yards, right? He's got 16 touchdowns and 1 interception. That's exceptional. I think he's great in that area in terms of we're not turning the ball over, but he doesn't have huge numbers. They've rushed as a team for 1,004 yards, and I would expect them to be at this point in the season a lot further along than where they are. But it is what it is. They've had some offensive line woes. And I appreciate Joey's understanding of the way I look at Detroit's offensive line. First rounder, third rounder, first rounder. Their draft pick has paid massive dividends. Mm-hmm. And with only 19 sacks, the Philly defense has not really gotten to the quarterback. And if they don't on Sunday, it could be a very, very long day. And there could be a lot of people booing them off the field at halftime.
Yeah, give a lot of credit to their GM, Howie Roseman, because he's just infused this roster with talent, even at the trade deadline, right? This is the repeat champs. They said, hey, we can bring in more guys. We can add more talent. They're phenomenal at acquiring picks and keeping guys on the roster, and it's just spectacular. Joey, I'll start with you. The Lions have done that too. They've infused this roster with a lot of talent. Their GM has done a phenomenal job as well. Which one of these two teams that have great GMs comes out on top on Sunday?
Well, I'm going to go into the Lions then here, and I'm going to pick the Lions upsetting the Eagles.
Pretty simple right there.
Pretty simple.
I've argued with him and I've taken the other side. I think the Lions do. They get a win. They run the ball a little bit better. They throw the ball a little bit better. Defensively, they get after the quarterback a little bit better. And I think that's something that they were missing last year in a critical piece. What do they have for deflections? They've got 49 pass deflections. They've got 30 sacks. I think they're just enough to be a little bit better than what Philadelphia is right now.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Those are the 4 games on the week that we had picked. A lot of football that's going to keep you glued to the television screen throughout Sunday. Guys, either you guys got anything else before we wrap it up here with our Week 11 preview show?
No, I think it's going to be a great week of football. That there, with the games we previewed, I think are really good, and I think 2 of them are real masterpieces of games. So I'm excited for a Week 11.
Yeah. Dad, anything from you, or you think we kind of touched on everything we needed to going into Week 11?
Yeah, I agree. I think there are a lot of, the Cowboys are playing the Raiders. I think that's the Monday night game, but there are a lot of division games. So folks, regionally, we're going to, get a pretty good feel of, how your team fits within the others that are part of the division that you're in. And with the exception of a couple of the games that we've talked about here, it's going to be really a very interesting weekend. So hope everybody enjoys it.
Well, if there's nothing else, that's been it for our Week 11 preview show. All 3 of us will be back next week. It'll be the same time. Used to it Tuesday evenings, spending with you guys. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll be back at it again very, very shortly. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week in the Week 12 NFL preview show.